If you love movies, you're in the right place, and that place is here at the Chronicle, the official film podcast of the People Movies. Welcome back. Welcome to episode 66. I'm Paul. I am your host, as well as the editor of the People's Movies. Thank you very much for joining us for this new episode. And we have another returning writer from the People's Movies joining me for this episode, and it's Ibrahim. How are you, Ibrahim?
I'm doing good, Paul. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. And both of us are going to review David Robert Mitchell. Did I get his name right? Yep. His new film, The End of Oak Street, which is obviously out now in UK, Irish cinemas and many cinemas around the world. So, Ibrahim, would you like to just tell us a little bit about the film, just to let
Yeah,
people
of
know what it's
course.
about, and then obviously if you liked it or didn't like it?
Yeah, of course. As you mentioned, Paul, it's directed by David Robert Mitchell, produced or at least co-produced, I think, by J.J. Abrams as well. Starring Ewan McGregor and Anne Hathaway, neither of which need any introduction,
Hmm.
but they play husband and wife Greg and Denise Platt. They've got two kids, Audrey and Brian. They live, of course, on Oak Street, and I suppose they're on the surface a happy family, but there is some marital tension between Greg and Denise, and the kids, of course, both kind of in their teenage years, battling the demons that come with that. But any kind of familial drama does get pushed to the side when they wake up to find that the entire neighborhood has been transported, it seems, to the distant past, and there's a whole host of dinosaurs waiting to greet them when they open the door. Um, and so I guess it's more so about survival from there, really. Yeah.
Did you like it or didn't like it?
Gonna be honest, Paul. I think yourself and I watched it at around the same sort of time yesterday, so we've had about the same amount of
Yeah.
time to let it, I guess, marinate. I hated this movie. I really did not enjoy it at all. The critical response so far, to the best of my knowledge, has been mixed. Some people have really
Yeah.
loved it. Some people have disliked it severely, and I'm part of the latter. Um, it's got this Spielbergian feel to it. It's an 80s family fantasy, but I think the one thing that stuck out like a sore thumb for me was the fact that the kids of this film felt very much like an afterthought, and it was more about Greg and Denise themselves. They lead the narrative, and it's their drama and tension that serves as the emotional undercurrent behind battling dinosaurs and trying to survive their new circumstances. So it kind of feels like it's trying to do two things at once, and it ends up failing at both of them. Um, there's this strained marriage, which could be interesting. Through working together to survive, it gives Greg and Denise a chance to kind of have a look at their relationship in a different lens. But the tension, it's just so undercut by so many trite cliches. I feel it's the same stereotypical portrayals of a broken marriage that we've seen 1,000 times before. And I think there's just no identity to this one. It's funny because the last time I was talking about the Odyssey on the
Yeah.
Chronicle, which is full of identity and presence, but this one felt just to me very bland, and I think there's an attempt at trying to do something different, but I just think it can't escape the tried and tested techniques to do that. So I feel like for me it was just a disappointment of a film.
Liked it a little bit more than yourself. Maybe it's just
Hmm.
because of my age.
Hmm.
I was a kid during the 80s, so maybe it's just because a lot of the big films that I saw in the 80s and even in the 90s, it's Spielbergian, ambling entertainment, as you
Yeah,
said. You know,
yeah.
that's probably why I've got a bit more appreciation for it.
Hmm.
But however, that doesn't mean to say everything's hunky dory, you know, in that sense of thing. You know, with blockbusters, obviously they need to be big, they need to be bold,
Yeah.
thrilling and entertainment. And Oak Street ticks the box for some of them. Obviously, as well, it's nostalgia. That was a big thing. I go for
Yeah.
that. You know,
It's
it's
yeah, one thing I did forget to mention in my little breakdown of what the film's about, it is an 80s set film, so I guess that makes it a period piece in a way, and that
yeah,
does definitely come through, like you said. It's got that family fantasy Amblin vibe that you mentioned. That is also an important part, absolutely, yeah.
yeah. And I wonder if that's why they went for the ambulance because the 80s was when Amblin and Spielberg were at the top. They were the go-to production company, go-to director for these big family fantasy, sci-fi, adventures, you name it. You know, there's a little bit of Joe Dante in there as well. You
Hmm.
know, there as well. For the word go, the inspiration's there right away. You know, with is it Michael Giacchino's score?
Yeah.
Obviously, some very upbeat. You know, and very John Williams-esque. You know,
Hmm.
giving that sort of false impression. You know, everything's good to you, and obviously it goes into the Oak Street and you see all the families having like a family. I think it was a family day. I don't know, somebody's birthday or I can't remember, but they were all out. You know, they
Like a
were all
street party or
yeah,
something, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it sort of falls a little bit, and maybe not as dark. You know, it does have dark moments as the sort of Burberry you see in Blue Velvet. You know, with David Lynch, obviously.
Yeah. No,
Anyone
nothing like
does,
that.
if anything does film studies, they always give you the opening of Blue Velvet and
Yeah.
get you to escape. It doesn't obviously go into that. But as you said, it gives you the full stop. Everything's great. Family life is great. Full sense of things, you know, the happy marriage, and then slowly you start to see things might not be as good, you know. With what was his name? I forget his name. Ewan McGregor's character's name. Forget who's
Greg.
Greg. Yeah,
Greg. Yeah.
Greg. When Denise, you see the first guy, obviously because of the boy Brian gets the dog
Yeah.
Starbuck. That's a to me. That's another 80s. That's your Battlestar Galactica. Starbuck, if I remember rightly, was if you've ever seen the A Team in the
Oh
old
yeah.
A Team,
Yeah.
he was the guy all the girls all the ladies loved. He was the guy. So I think that was Bradley Cooper that played it in the remake, which God that was like
Yeah.
10, 15 years ago now. So the argument with the dog with the boy, you get little clues, you know, certain things would come in. Brian has the bow and arrow, you know. Some point
Yeah.
that's going to come in very important into things into it. So it's that sort of playful tone, and then Greg has to go away to do a delivery job. But as obviously as the film progresses, we start to learn that behind the scenes not at all as well, and there's a lot of thing that Greg does do occasionally when he has to go for certain things in the garage. He has a little
Yes.
swig or something. That's another thing there.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
These little
Yeah.
things sort of build up. And I was just, I sort of said, why is it? It was, I think it was 1982, if I remember rightly,
I
because
think you're right. Yeah.
it gives it away at the end, the bonkers end, and I says, why in the 80s? Why then? And I just sort of put two and two, and I thought, it's Spielberg. It's when he was good. It's when everyone loved him.
Yeah.
And what did you think of the choice of David Robert Mitchell? I mean, he did obviously It Follows, and then he did that
Yeah.
fantastic. I loved it. The one that's sort of divisive, the Neil Noir, no Andrew Garfield and Riley Keough, who I think was trying to do a James Manfield or Marilyn Monroe type Neil Noir.
Mm.
I forget the name of that one.
Let's see if I can pull it up.
And it,
Was it Under the Silver Lake?
yeah, Under the Sun. I should know because I'm
Yeah.
the one that reviewed it when it came
Oh,
out on years ago.
there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so much since the last time I seen all that. That get very divisive, and then he did the one about the Great American Sleepover,
Yeah.
which was his sort of big indie debut, you know, and
Yeah.
It Follows was like, yeah, it was a mainstream, but it had all its indie elements,
Hmm.
and it is the thing I liked. I saw a lot of It Follows in this film, but and I think this is the one thing I think David Robert Mitchell does good, and
Hmm.
is have you seen It Follows?
I haven't seen it in its entirety. I have seen bits of it. I do think that the transition from something like that to something like The End of Oak Street does make sense because obviously It Follows is a horror film,
Yeah.
and there are horror elements here in The
Oh
End
yeah.
of Oak Street, particularly with the dinosaurs, and there's plenty of tension fueled moments in the film that are reminiscent of more horror-esque
Yeah,
stuff. It's not direct horror because, again, like we mentioned, it does have that family fantasy feel,
yeah.
so it's not as overt horror as something like It Follows. But I think the choice of director I didn't have a problem with. More so where the parts of It Follows I've seen feel as though they have a strong directorial identity. I don't think I could, if watching The End of Oak Street without knowing who directed it,
Hmm.
I don't know if I'd be able to tell, oh, this is the same director of It Follows or anything like that. I
Yeah,
don't think I'd be able to pick out a single director that
yeah.
I could attribute this movie to, because it does feel, from a directorial perspective, relatively, I hate to use the word safe,
Uh-huh.
but I do feel as though this is a script that could have been picked up by any director that's had a reasonable level of experience in somewhat similar genres. I feel like they could all do a reasonable job with it. I don't think there was anything about David Robert Mitchell's directing in specific that was bad. Um, I just feel like it didn't. He didn't stand out as a director for me in the way that we
Hmm.
mentioned David Lynch and of course Spielberg as well. I don't think he stood out in the same way as guys like those tend to do.
Yeah, the bits that which I think he did stand out is it, as I was mentioning, It Falls. There's some really jump scares in there, but they're like
Hmm.
silent jump scares
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
where you can like you see the family in Oak Street. They're trying to get into a house, and at one point you see something in the background,
yeah.
and then the big T Rex. You can see them doing it in the silence, and you can see the thing running.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I
He's really
remember
good
now
at that,
down the
and
street.
then
Yeah.
there's that is there's a lot of that, and It Follows, and I think that's obviously where made It Follows a success. So I'm really
Hmm.
looking forward to seeing is it They Falls to see how
Mm.
different he's going to do it.
Yeah.
How different things are. I think that's where he really does do it do it, justice, the film justice, be things like that, and giving little clues of certain things that may happen later on. Like a certain snake thing, it might be we saw right at the beginning,
Yeah.
in a certain pool. What I'll say,
Yes.
folks, is apologies if we do any spoilers in this review or any reviews we do on this episode or future episodes. We don't do them deliberately. Sometimes we just have to say them to get the point we're getting across. If ever you haven't seen this film and you don't want to get spoiled, why don't go and watch it? Go and watch the film and then come back to the podcast because we'll always be here. Find them over at the website. So you knew that thing was going to come back into it again, and the way it came
Absolutely.
in, it was the point where you seen it coming back into things. It was
Yeah.
so silent, and
I
then
did enjoy that. I did enjoy that slithery dinosaur kind of creeping through the house, and the way it kind of wrapped around itself down the stairs, and the
yeah,
way it was dealt with, I'll say,
yeah,
was was a nice kind of a satisfying way of it being done.
yeah, it was, and let me see, yeah, the ending. That's absolutely. Actually, before we do the ending,
Hmm.
let's mention the dinosaurs.
Yeah, I know
And
exactly what
one
you're.
dinosaur is a
Yeah,
Humpasaurus.
yeah, yeah. That
I
was a
went,
strange one. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I was watching it with my wife,
yeah,
and as soon as that happened, we kind of just looked at each other like,
yeah,
"What on earth is going on?" And I think that scene is the perfect example of where this film is going to divide people,
yeah,
because on one hand, you can kind of see the comedic value, but also for me, it didn't work
yeah,
because it pulled me out of what we were dealing with literally a minute before that scene crept up. And I understand, and I don't want to give too much away of the film, but I understand where it was coming from uh, with regards to that point of Greg and Denise's story and where we had got to, and obviously what came not too long afterwards. So I understand what it was there for. I just think maybe there were more natural. Trying to think of the specific way to word this,
yeah,
but maybe there were different techniques they could have used,
Yeah,
and different things they could have had the dinosaurs
yeah.
doing apart from what we did see.
Well, I don't know about the screen you were in, but the screen I was in, people just started laughing. They,
There were some giggles in my
yeah,
cinema as well. Absolutely, yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. It definitely caught everyone by surprise, and obviously something that Greg and Denise does as well. It just made everyone laugh even more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and
And it does again. I think we're going to touch on the ending in a little bit, but it does pop back up. There's a little memory of it that pops back up at the end where it kind of reminds you of that moment as well, which I think was a nice touch.
yeah,
But yeah, if I was putting pen to paper, I probably would have chose a different background. Let's just say.
yeah. It's as in the tone. We'll talk about the characters right after this.
Hmm.
As in the tone, here in the UK, it's a 12A, and I think it's a PG-13 in the States. They're virtually
Yeah.
similar ratings
Yeah.
for 12A and 15 here in the UK.
Hmm.
It's a bit, but we had that scene in that film and that scene in that film, but that film is a 15. Why is that a 12A?
Yeah, because I had a few little kids that I kind of saw in the cinema going into this film, and when I went in, I wasn't aware of what the rating was actually going to be. I
Yeah,
just assumed because it was a family film, it was probably going to be a PG to a 12 at the most.
yeah,
And it kind of did spark a conversation between me and my wife as well after the
uh,
screening because there were youngsters in there with their parents and we kind of thought with a scene like that in the film and it's not hinted at, it's very much in your face. Does the fact that it's dinosaurs as opposed to people or other animals, does that change things? I don't
yeah,
know. I don't know where I stand on it, to be honest with you. Um, if someone told me you got to make a 12A film or a PG-13 film, I wouldn't have that scene in there to keep it safe.
yeah.
But I guess maybe the ratings have changed over the years, or the barriers for what qualifies as a 15 may be a little bit more lenient than it was previously. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. Back in 18s when I was younger,
Hmm.
and then it went into 15s. There's a certain word I think one of them uses. The second word it was a two-word. Second word was off. I believe that get mentioned once in the film.
Mm.
And the first time it shocked me was the Wolverine film, Logan. Was it Logan? No,
Oh yeah.
the X-Men. It was the X-Men First Class, and we were trying to get him, and every time he kept telling off, you know. The whole that's sort of back to being an Amblin-esque type film. I was not expecting it. I expect that maybe in a comic book movie,
Yeah.
where the depending on the comic book and depending on the story,
Yeah.
sometimes the rating of the story goes up and down. You know, for slightly older to slightly younger. But
Hmm.
yeah, there was a few the wording a little bit. Yeah, the sort of what do you say
It's
the
it's not
script.
something we would have saw Spielberg do.
No, that's. I think that's probably the one time at David Robert Mitchell because the one thing I think about this film is I think J.J. Abrams had an even bigger input into it. You know,
Probably.
yeah,
Yeah.
because obviously J.J. Abrams, we're not saying he's a better or a worse filmmaker. I know some people might argue
Yeah.
over it, but that's kind of the political side, which I just cannot stand any. You know, just
Yeah.
people's got an opinion, let them have it, but don't diss anyone else. But
Yeah.
it's I
It does seem right up his street, though, this type of film.
yeah
This is something that I can imagine because I think I want to say he's an executive producer on the film, but I do feel like he had some creative input as well.
yeah
Going back to what we were talking about earlier with regards to David Robert Mitchell's presence,
yeah
maybe I didn't pick up on it as much because there's a little bit of a not a conflict, but a little bit of a juggling act between him and J.J. Abrams. Obviously, I
mm,
don't know the behind the story scenes of the film itself, but maybe there's a little bit of a balancing act going on in terms of how much creative
yeah
input J.J. Abrams had. This is a film that I could imagine him being attached to, so it wasn't a surprise to find out he was uh, handling production
yeah
duties. Um, so we'll have to maybe wait and see if anything more about that comes out, or if there's any kind of discussion about that as well. But yeah, it does feel like
yeah
something tackle.
Yeah, it was. If I remember rightly, when I was doing the news for the People's Movies, when we covered when Oak Street was coming into production, I
Hmm.
slightly remember. I think J.J. Abrams was originally, I think, down to be the director of it, and I think obviously it
Hmm.
conflicted with other projects he was doing, and that's probably why he stepped
That makes
back.
sense.
And
That makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, and I think to me he's became more like a mentor type, type
Hmm.
side of things,
Yeah.
and obviously Warner Bros. Who released this film, they obviously see him because he's did the big films like your Star Wars and your Star Treks and that.
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah.
really David Robert Mitchell's first big movie. He's been in the industry for a good 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
They're probably thinking, no, JJ knows what he's doing. And I know a lot of people argue, does he really? That's
Mm.
a discussion for another day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's getting explained. So, the characters, Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor, what did you think of them? And not obviously any others.
I think there's two things when we look at a character, we look at it two ways. We look at the performance, and then we look at the character within the script. I feel like both performances were absolutely fine. No major complaints. I do feel Ewan McGregor's accent was a little bit weak. He didn't strike me as convincingly American. I did kind of hear his natural Scottish come
Yeah.
through at times. Maybe that's just because I've heard him in so many interviews and I'm so familiar with what his voice naturally sounds like. But I
Yeah.
didn't, he didn't come across um, as someone who'd lived his whole life in America. But that's a very specific nitpick. Everything else about his performance was absolutely fine. They're both, proved to be more than competent actors. I feel that the problem that I had with them was, as I kind of mentioned earlier, it was a very, any kind of marital drama you watch in not even mainstream, but just in films these days where there's not so much creativity. We see the same kind of tropes of, whether they're having whispers while the kids are watching from across the street, or they're arguing in the bedroom and you can hear it echoing through the walls. All that sort of stuff I've seen a million and one times in films. I don't think there was anything about either of their characters that made them feel especially unique. And this is where, again, going back to those original Amblin films, those 80s films, those were all kid driven.
Yeah.
Children were the center of those narratives, and the adults were the emotional backdrop where we knew, okay, maybe mom and dad are having some trouble, but it didn't dominate the narrative as much as it does here. That is a risk to have them kind of stepping so forward, and having the kids um, step back, where it kind of felt like the kids were mainly just there to be protected rather than have their own agency as characters. So I feel like it's a bit of a poorly structured balance between adults and kids in this type of film. So yeah, performance is fine. Uniqueness amongst characters and structure between characters sharing screen time, I felt was a lot weaker.
I totally agree with the sort of the ambling with the kids. Kids were always the focus.
Yeah.
Even the teens, the young adults, even they were at certain films.
Yeah.
They were up there. Yeah. If I was going between McGregor, that was his Creef quite close to Perth and Dunfermline, which is sort of gone sort of northeast.
Mm.
Obviously my accent's more west because I'm closer to Glasgow. Yeah, I think I've just got that used to his American accent.
Mm.
I know it's not perfect. But I think I just get used to him. It's a wee bit
Yeah.
like Jared Butler. His is the exact
Yes.
same.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The two of them are the exact same. Jared Butler, he's from my hometown, Paisley,
All right.
and yeah, but he doesn't sound like from Paisley.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was for the posh end of Paisley.
Oh, I see. Okay. Right.
Yeah. Well, it's the bit's quite close to Glasgow. Anyway, Anne Hathaway was probably if I was to pick any two, the slightly stronger of the two. She felt more of the leader of the two of them.
Yeah, I
Uh,
felt that as well. I felt that her character Denise had more of the emotional stakes, and
yeah,
Ewan McGregor's role, was a little bit more of a responsive to Anne Hathaway's character's struggles in the film. I
mm,
feel like as well, Anne Hathaway's character Denise, her struggles within the marriage were kind of more explored.
yeah,
Um, I think again, Greg goes through, the same things that we see, and apologies in advance for any spoilers, but losing the job, having to work a less glamorous. We don't find out what his original job was, I don't think, but
no, we don't.
having to kind of self demote to pizza deliveries is always a kick to the ego. And as you mentioned earlier as well, the odd swig in the basement. We've seen all of that before, whereas Anne Hathaway's, Denise's problems within the marriage felt a little bit more singular, writing and kind of struggling with her relationship with that, and staying authentic within her marriage as well, balancing motherhood. That was done, I felt, with a little bit more attention to detail. And I am avoiding a major spoiler, but I do think there's good reason for that,
Yeah.
um, as we kind of find out as the film goes on.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, the kids were great when they're on the screen. The little side story for Brian, where he broke the arm of one of the kids, and the big
Yeah,
brother
yeah,
wants to kill him,
yeah,
and the girl next door, who
yes,
they
yeah,
didn't know much about, and then there might be a time where they might know much more about her. And
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
laughed at that bit when the religious bit, because the religion that they mention, I am that religion, and it's
yeah,
it's
yeah,
we call it guilt.
yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, that sort of same thing.
I felt like a bit more attention to those stuff
Yeah,
instead of having them kind of start and end as quickly as they did would have made the film strong. Because there's a bit in the start, and I think you'll remember, where they're all kind of riding down the street on their bicycles.
yeah,
I immediately thought of E.T.
yes,
Um, and I thought, oh, this is going to be really cool. This is going to be a lot of fun. Okay, it's probably not going to be as good as E.T. was, but this could be, the start of something that could be really cool, especially for the youngsters as well. But then I just felt like they got pushed to the side a little bit too much, and all of a sudden I'm watching a marital drama when I should be watching a whole family deal with dinosaurs and have a lot of fun with it. Which, don't get me wrong, that is, a major part of it, but it is this balancing act between family survival, marital drama, where I felt those moments with the kids that really do hit home and scratch that, 80s itch. Um, they were just too few and far between. Um, I think more of that would have made the film a lot stronger.
so the ending, that ending was bonkers, absolute crazy bonkers.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was definitely a head scratcher.
it
because
was.
because when you watch certain films, you go, right, how's it came to this? How's it came to this? Right,
Yeah,
here we go. This could be another spoiler. Do we actually find out why everything happened?
not really.
No,
Not,
no.
not, no, no. I mean, we find out, obviously, again, venturing into major spoiler talk, but they get, I'll say, back to normal, only to find out that it's not quite back to normal. They've still got one more hurdle to deal with. And then it turns out that hurdle is actually completely unavoidable. Um, I thought we were going to have a little bit of a race against time scenario, which we ended up not having to
Yeah,
really worry about at all. And then it jumps forward where, this horrible, unavoidable thing happened, and we just kind of dealt with it. And that's weird. It was weird. I don't mind if a film doesn't explain the more mysterious circumstances. Sometimes it's nice for ambiguity, to keep people talking, to keep people wondering, maybe want to rewatch it and see if there are any clues or any explanation. And it keeps film discourse alive. So I don't mind not having the entire
right.
explanation fed to me. But I would have liked a little bit more of a satisfying wrap up on this one
Yeah.
that didn't feel like it was jumping from one point to the other point to the other point in such succession as it did.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, it was all over the place, and we got some sort of Back to the Future type scenario.
Yeah, yeah, a little
Uh,
bit, yeah.
yeah, and then a certain other thing where one of them does something to try and prove everything's okay,
Hmm.
and it's sort of
Yeah,
maybe it does, maybe it doesn't.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing sort of may get him there, may not get him there. That was oh come on, no that type of thing,
Mm, yeah,
that's maybe just a tad little explanation at that point, just to say
yeah,
this, and it sort of made me. Did everything happen? Was it the wrath of God?
yeah,
Is it that type of thing, or is it just
yeah.
purely entertainment? Who
I
knows?
feel, yeah, I feel like it was, you know, when it does jump forward, I think it's 2 years or something like that, and
Yeah,
they've got the little news broadcast of scientists are exploring blah blah blah. Maybe a little few words there, and it could honestly just be some sort of scientific mumbo jumbo,
yeah,
just to kind of, you know, because at the start as well they set up with their daughter who's got this science fiction scientific background and is looking to study, and they kind of talk about things like wormholes or black holes and
yeah,
stuff like that. Maybe just a little tying of the knot at the end there to
yeah,
to link back to that stuff. That would have been absolutely fine. Don't need a full explanation,
yeah.
but just that little bit of attention to detail to kind of satisfy the curiosity. But I think they missed an opportunity there.
Yeah, I think they needed Christopher Lloyd on it to be the Mad Doc for Back to the Future, and so
No, I would have
and
loved that.
that would be excellent. Anyway,
It'd be a
let's.
5-star film.
Yeah, it would have been. So let's round things up. So what's your final thoughts and what sort of rating you going to give it?
Well, my final thoughts, the end of Oak Street. It's got a broken family and this very bizarre sci-fi fantasy concept at once. Both of them fight for my attention. Neither one really settles with me. I think they did take a risk focusing on Greg and Denise, but the surrealist kind of dinosaur plot doesn't leave enough room for me for that risk to pay off. I think it's undecided between wanting to be that 80s Amblin family fantasy that it resembles, and the marital drama that it really strives to be at times. It can't quite grasp either one fully. Maybe a little bit harsh. Maybe I'll watch it again and be a little bit more sympathetic, but I'm at a 1 star.
Ooh, wow, wow.
Yeah,
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 as I said, I'm higher. I'm a bit more positive.
yeah.
I'm just slightly higher on the rating we had Frida Cooper's review on the People's Movie. She gave it 3 stars, so I'm actually 3.5 stars. As I said
Okay.
earlier, I'm someone from the era where Amblin
Yeah,
and Spielberg
exactly.
was so big, so it felt a little bit refreshing to see that. I'm not a Jurassic Park fan, but I enjoyed the
Okay.
sort of dinosaur thing. So if you don't want that
Yeah.
sort of side of things,
Yeah.
uh,
If you
this,
don't like dinosaurs, definitely not for you. I
yeah,
love a good T-Rex. I was telling my wife, a good T-Rex scene is a 5-star scene for me. And I will say there is a pretty great T-Rex scene in this film. That might be my full 1 star for it.
yeah,
Um, but I do feel like, again, like we kind of talked about at the start, this is a film that's dividing people. Some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it. That probably your rating there, Paul, of 3 to 3.5, is probably about where it will end up settling.
yeah,
Because if some people are going all the way up to 5, some people are like me down at 1. It is going to find that middle ground
yeah.
for a lot of people as well. So you might have hit it on the head there.
Yeah, if yeah, it's definitely one. It's not like obviously the big franchises are all they're getting a little bit dry and dull and boring. Yeah, it's very ambitious. It tries something different. Yeah, maybe not 100% succeeded, and I give the kudos for that. That type
Hmm.
of thing. But there's a lot in it. I like to sort of false sense the hope that you think it's going to be this, and then it delivers something else. However,
Hmm.
that something else, they may have not actually delivered exactly that, but it's delivered some sort of satisfying. After watching the last Evil, excuse me, the last Evil Dead film, which I just thought was my biggest disappointment of the summer, and
Oh
I'm a big
wow.
Evil Dead fan.
Wow.
That was my 1 star movie.
Fair enough.
and this sort of gave me the thumbs up. So we give it a 1 star and a 3 to 3.5 star. So Ibrahim, thank you very much. Can
No
you let
worries.
the
Thank
let
you.
the viewers, the listeners know where they can find you online or anywhere you might have stuff
Yeah,
printed?
absolutely. Yes. So, of course, the People's Movies is where most of my work is. So you can find me on the website. You can also find me on Medium, which is just Ibrahim Azam. Uh, I'm on Instagram, Ibrahim's.notes. I'm also on Twitter, Ibrahim underscore writes one. And the rest of my work is all linked from there. So, yeah.
So you have it, folks. That is under End of Oak Street. And Chronicle Film Podcast, episode 66, continues. And we have another writer on board, and she's quite a regular one now, and it's Rosie. How are you, Rosie?
I'm good, thank you. A bit hot, but good.
Yeah. Well, is it still very warm in England?
It's cooling down, but the houses are still very warm.
Yeah. Mine says as well, but I'm not too bad today. It's a day. Rosie, you're gonna chat about two films.
Yeah.
And it's two films that actually have come out this week with Oak Street. That is Sunny Dancer and Tony. So which one would you like to sort of start with and maybe tell us a little bit about them, and then
Yeah,
go if you liked them or didn't?
I'll start with Tony. So Tony was actually, the way I saw it was that it was the screen unseen at Odeon and Cineworld's secret screening. I think it's actually quite hard to find in cinemas, so if
Yeah,
you can go see it, I would. But it's about Anthony Bourdain before he kind of became who he is, who was known for. So he was 19. He didn't get the writing fellowship that he wanted, and he chased a girl off to a little seaside town. And that's where he started to get involved with like cooking in the kitchen life and the restaurant world. So he started like in the film it shows him. So Dominic Sessa plays Anthony Bourdain, and he's at this village, this seaside town. He's causing a lot of ruckus, and he has no money. His money was stolen from him, so he gets knocked out. This chef from a restaurant takes him to his house, and the chef said, if you want to stay on the hammock at my house, then you need to come and work in the kitchen. And he starts off just like pot washing, plate washing, and it really shows the kitchen vibe. They're quite stressful and very atmospheric. And him and the chef start to build more of a relationship, and he gets more into like the culinary world and has all these like ideas and things while trying to keep up persona to other people that he's on the writing fellowship and he's going to be this amazing writer. Although it's a biopic, it only really spans like the summer of his life from the big, like where he was about 19, and it's like a summer in between like years of education. But I think it was very interesting. I think we have so many biopics these days that span like someone's whole life, and it's very hard to span a life of someone in a 90-minute to 2 hour film. So I think it was very interesting that it was just that one summer, but it was such a defining summer for him. And it was an interesting film. I wouldn't say it was like the best film ever. It was quite homely, quite a warm, wholesome film in some ways. I mean, he's an unlikable character, but likable at the same time. You're kind of rooting for him, and I mean, he is a real person as well. But it's quite a homely film. I mean, it's not for everyone. It's quite slow paced, but I think it's definitely worth a watch, especially if you're interested in his life.
quite surprised. It was Matt Johnson who we last saw on Nirvana the band, the movie, the show. I can't remember. It's so long there. I
Yeah, long
haven't.
title.
It's a very long title, and I've actually met the guy. I met him when he was in Glasgow Film Festival for Blackberry, which was a good film about the rise and fall of
Yeah,
the guys that created the BlackBerry phone. My
yeah.
review, I've actually done the review, so that was me done the review. It's on the website. Check it out. I really did enjoy it. Obviously, the two movies that I mentioned, they're very much into the comedic side of things. Is this film, Tony, is it a more straightforward movie for Matt Johnson, who is in the movies that I mentioned here as well? Is this a more serious movie? Did he go into the Does he get into the comical side of things in this?
There are some, like, I think there's funny moments. I mean, he's a character that you can't help but like. He's quite a sarcastic, short-tempered character. So there's like little snappy remarks. I wouldn't say that I was like laughing loads throughout it. The guy next to me found a few things funny, even though he didn't actually like the film. So there's those little moments, but I think it is more like slow paced, and there's some really like wholesome moments, there's some tenser moments, but it is, it's the span of a summer. It's definitely not, I wouldn't say it's a comedy film or by any means. I'd just call it more of a drama. But yeah, it has its moments.
Yeah, the chef that gave Tony his break, it was Antonio Banderas when it
Yes.
plays the
Yeah.
chef. How was he in this? As in, he sort of is that type of chef?
Yeah, he was really good because I think Tony really warms up to the chef over time. At first he's quite, how kitchens are. You see like all those kitchen series where they're like chefs are really aggressive, and he wasn't an aggressive chef by any means, but he was harsh. You had to come on time. You couldn't be late. If you were late, you were fired. You get the work done. But I think it was actually the other chefs in the restaurant that were probably meaner than he was. But he had that kind of, like, they said in the film, like, we don't even know his name, like they always answer him as chef. But because Tony was staying with him in this house, like the chef would take him to church and like introduce him to bits of his own life and things that he found like fascinating. This was a chef that had been all over the world and had all these experiences that he was able to share with Tony, who was only a teenager at the time. And I think it was a really interesting bond between the two. And I'm not going to spoil it, but there's like a moment at the end where you think that bond like might have broken. Tony's very rude and kind of lashes out to him over something that I won't mention. Things kind of like find their way back around, and I think it's a really sweet relationship between the two in it. And I do think he was brilliant in it.
Yeah, and the guy becomes his friend. That was Leo Woodall in it. It plays it.
Yes, he was one of the ones that a very interesting character. I like when you say friend. I think they were friends. Leo kind of he's there quite a lot in the beginning, and then kind of disappears for a while and comes back right near the end, and is kind of like moving. Like he's a bad influence on Tony in the films. He's kind of the one that gets him involved in drugs, and he gets him involved in the kind of wrong crowds. And it's when he disappears from the restaurant for a while that you start to see the bond between Tony and the chef build up. So I do think he was brilliant though. Like I actually disliked him in it. And when an actor can make you dislike them when you usually like them as an actor, I think like he's done a good job.
No, you're right, because not every character we see in these films are there to be liked, and that thing. I haven't seen it, Tony. I really would like to see it. Unfortunately, Tony is not getting. I live next to, as you know, I live next door to Scotland's biggest city, Glasgow, and there's not a cinema to be seen. And I remember when I spoke to you yesterday, this is we're recording this on the Saturday, the 15th of August. When you mentioned that you've seen it, you mentioned, I think, Odeon to me, and I was going off to watch The End of Oak Street. I thought I would have a look to see if it's on, and maybe I thought, I know, because it's not a long movie, isn't that right? It's not a very long movie.
It's about 90 minutes, I think.
Yeah, and this was just after 5. I thought, I'll see if it's on and maybe go and watch it. No, I asked one of the manager, and he says, I know we are, it's getting promoted as we're one of the main places, but there's nowhere in Glasgow showing it. However, I think the Glasgow Film Fair, GFT, and maybe the Film House in Edinburgh may eventually do show, because it sounds like it's this type of independent movie they're showing it.
Yeah.
I think it's A24. I don't. Is it A24 for the UK as well?
I think so. It was because I saw it at Screen Unseen, which both Odeon and Cineworld showed at most venues. But what was interesting is Odeon usually release clues before the film, and they didn't release any clues for it. There was no trailers before the film like usual. I kind of expected it was going to be that because of Process of Elimination, but there was very little promotion around it, that film being Tony. And the only place now showing it where I live, and there's 3 cinemas where I live is the Picture House.
Yeah.
The View and the Odeon are not showing it at all. So I don't know if it's because of these bigger films that are all coming out. I think things like Spider-Man, The Odyssey is still taking up screens, and you've got End of
Yeah.
Oak Street. These bigger cinemas just don't they don't want to lose out on money if they're going to have one screen that's only got like 5 people watching Tony when they could show
Yeah.
The Odyssey and fill it. I think that unfortunately that is the case, and it's nice to see cinemas thriving with these big films, but it does mean that these smaller ones get shunned to the side a bit.
Yeah, I have to admit, I mean, I've been running the website. Well, obviously Scott's helped me now, and you guys are helping me as well. I started away back in November 2008. Didn't know what the PR companies, these marketing companies at the beginning, but around about 2010, 2011, a lot of them started to saw the website and started sending me stuff. And I have to admit, I received nothing for the UK promotion of Tony. I was actually quite surprised it was actually out so soon, because I would quite like to see it. You know, I liked Anthony Bourdain when he done his sort of traveling stuff. His little show, I think it's on actually YouTube as well, when he went to Tokyo, which I've mentioned over the years for you guys arrived when I went back to Tokyo in 3 years ago and 4 years ago. He was one of the inspirations why I wanted to go. And you know, and I was really severely disappointed. And obviously, I like the Matt Johnson films as well. I still haven't seen Nirvana the band, the movie, or the show,
No,
whatever
I
it's
haven't
called.
either.
Yeah, I'm going to try and watch it before we do our sort of end of year stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm really disappointed. It sounds like, folks, if you really want to see this movie and maybe the next movie we're about, Rosie's about to talk about, you probably have to look at more your independent and art house cinemas.
And
If
I'd say go sooner. Like if you want to watch it,
Yeah,
go try and book onto it now, because you don't know if it's going to be showing the week after.
yeah, and if not, you might have to just wait till it comes on to digital type thing. So, sort of sum up, did you really enjoy the movie, and sort of what rating would you give it?
I thought it was okay. I think I thought it was sweet. I thought it was homely. It's quite a cute like film in terms of like the vibes of it. I don't know if I would watch it again, or I wouldn't hurry to watch it again. I think I gave it about 3.5 stars. I think craft wise, it had a really good music. It was really like nicely shot, really good cast. I think it's just I didn't feel it completely captured. There were moments where I felt a little bit
Yeah,
bored, considering it's not a long
yeah,
film. But you know, it did what it's supposed to do, I think. And I've seen a lot of people enjoy it a lot more than I did. I just don't know much about him either. So for me, it was more of a learning curve than being like a fan.
yeah. So that's Tony. So Sunny Dancer, right? The PR company for this one did send us stuff for it,
Mm,
and the one thing I was severely disappointed with was obviously the FDA, the Film Distributors Association. They every few weeks do big press days. It's usually press days or certain big films, just a press screening of the
mm.
films. And there was a Glasgow screening of it. We all sort of know each other at these press days. We all know the familiar faces. We get a habit. I, out of a lot of them, did not get an invite. I did let the PR
Oh.
company know that. I found it really
Mm,
strange, especially
yeah.
that I live 15 minutes drive for the city to get filmed in Glasgow. And, you know, anyway, I digress there. So, would you like to let people know about Sunny Dancer and if you liked it or didn't like it?
Yeah, so I actually really like this film. Again, it was like an early screening that Odeon did. They do those preview screenings for
Yeah,
Limitless members. So I went to one of those, and I really didn't know what to expect. I'd kind of I'd seen they were showing an ad for it in the cinema, but it wasn't a trailer for it. It was just them on a Zoom call, like discussing how
yeah,
to sell the film, and then it had a guy walking out with no shirt. So I don't think I'd even properly watched a trailer for it before I went to see it. But I'd heard some like things about it, and I thought I'll give it a go. And so basically, the premise of the film is that there's a girl, she's recovering from cancer, I think, for about a year, and her the thing is, like, although she's recovered from the illness, like, she's still mentally struggling. She feels a bit isolated. She doesn't have many friends, and her parents suggest that she goes to this camp, which is a camp for cancer survivors that are all kids and teenagers, so they can come together and kind of feel a bit normal together. So she reluctantly goes on this camp and is originally quite, like, even while she's there, not loving it. She's a bit rude to people. She picks fights. She always gets sent home. But she meets a group of teenagers, all similar ages, and they start to get up to all these shenanigans together, going out and doing bits and having a laugh. And she starts to, like, actually really enjoy the summer camp. And she even actually meets someone, and they start what I thought was a really beautiful relationship. I thought it was a really sweet and reflection of the fact that they're teenagers, and I thought it was a very sweet build up of relationship between them. And I thought it was going to be a nice uplifting film. I know it's about cancer, but I thought, well, they're all on summer camp, they're all having fun. Something happens, and I'm not going to spoil it because it's quite a twist in the way it happens, and I don't really want to, like, spoil that for everyone because it's a devastating twist. But you realize quite last minute that it is an uplifting film still, but it's also a pretty gut-wrenching film. And I did leave the cinema in tears. So it's a really lovely film. I think it's such a lovely reflection of, like, it felt like it was made by kids. Like, it was, I know it wasn't, but I think they probably had a really good, like, input into it. It looked like a bunch of kids having a really great time. I've seen a lot about the making of it, and it just looked like they all had so much fun. They were at this camp. They were having a nice summer, and it just felt like a really lovely watch. And it had those really high, wonderful, funny moments, and there's so many funny moments, but then you had the really low, like, deep chats and the sadder moments as well. So I really enjoyed the film.
Yeah, is it Bella Ramsey for Last of Us that plays?
Yes, she plays the lead.
Character?
So Ivy, she plays.
And Ivy, and then there's Ruby Stokes. That was a girl for the, what do you call it? The BFG in it.
Oh, I'm potentially, yeah. And because it's also there's James Norton in it, Neil Patrick Harris. There's someone, Daniel Quintoy, who's also in Sterling Point at the moment. So I think I followed him after watching Sunny Dancing. He had about 3,000 followers, and now I think he has like 30k or more. So he's rose to fame very quickly, with two big releases at the same time. So I think it's gonna, a lot of the teenagers in this film, I think we're gonna see them doing a lot more after this.
Yeah, and then we've got Conrad Khan, Errol Cave, Jessica Gunnan, in there as well. I have seen that trailer stroke call thing as well. Is it not James Blunt that comes out of the water?
Yes. No, it's not James Blunt that comes out of the water. He's in the Zoom call. I think it's one of the camp counselors that there's a camp counselor in it that's a kind of younger one that one of the teenagers has a crush on.
Yeah.
So, but it's funny because they sell that scene as it being in the film, but it's actually not even in the film.
Yeah.
It's in at the end of the credits. So I was just in tears, like, trying to compose myself. I looked up and there was a man coming out the water with no top on. I thought, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you see all the girls, hold me back, hold me back. Yeah, so when you say relationship, would you call this an LGBTQ film as well?
I don't think there is actually any LGBT relationships at the forefront. It's so Bella Ramsey's character Ivy she meets Daniel Quintoy's character called Jake, and they slowly kind of, how at first, like, she's always, it's kind of a will they won't they, like, she's like, oh no, he's too pretty for me, like, too pretty boy. But they have these really sweet moments, and they just slowly get closer and closer. And there's a lot of teenagery conversations in here. It's like, they talk about things like periods and sex and losing your virginity and things like that. But it never feels uncomfortable. It just feels very normal. Those are the kind of conversations that kids do have, and especially ones who, like, have lost a bit of their childhood because of having cancer. They have that time where they can be with each other and just be themselves. And so that's what I think was really lovely about it.
Errol Cave, that is Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds son.
Yeah.
It's as well. So I'm looking at the pictures and I'm all, and obviously I know James Norton and Neil Patrick Harris and James Blunt, and I do know Ruby Stokes and Bella Ramsey. Just trying to remember exactly what they were all
Jessica
actually.
Gunning's in it too. She was from Baby Reindeer, I believe.
Of course, she plays
Yeah,
inverted
the
commas
woman.
the woman, the stalker,
Yeah.
the one the real life one. It's actually trying to sue Netflix or something for that.
Oh, is she?
So I think she is. So the thing that it's catching people out and it's dividing audiences is the cancer side of it.
Mm.
Is how is the comedy? Because the comedy and cancer don't really go together, if you know what I mean. Is it
I
done
think there's
tastefully?
I didn't feel any kind of like way about it. I think a lot of the comedy didn't come. I mean, they do make jokes about it, but I think a lot of us will sit there and make jokes about stuff that we're going through. And in the film, they are characters that have that have cancer or have had cancer. And so they sometimes have a bit of a joke about dark humor, and that's how they cope with it. And they make comments where like one of them makes a joke and they go, "That was a bit far." Um, but I think like a lot of us make jokes about what we're going through to feel that way. So I didn't kind of at any point think that they shouldn't have said that or that was wrong. I mean, it's a bit dark humor, yeah, but I think the way it's coming, it's not like someone's insulting people with cancer in the film. They are people with cancer or who have had cancer who just want to talk, like make lighthearted jokes about it. So yeah, I didn't feel any way about it.
Yeah, because that's good. So, what's your final thought and what rating would you give Sunny Day?
So I really enjoyed it. I love films that make me cry. Anything that makes me sad or feel some kind of way, like I will be crying. I'm just trying to check what I actually gave. I gave it 4 stars.
Four
So
stars.
I
Yeah.
I thought, it was, I just really enjoyed it, every element of it. It was really sad, but it had the humor and the lightheartedness as well. And it just felt like such a nice, like, kids kind of, well, not kids, but like teenagery coming of age vibe film. I just thought it was very sweet and very sad. I wish I could talk more about the twist, but I just really don't want to spoil it for people. But
Yeah.
that will be, I think, what gets a lot of people with the film.
Tell me after we stop recording.
Okay. I will.
Emily reviewed it for the
Yes.
website, the People's Movies. She enjoyed it as well. I think she also gave it 4.
Mm.
But also, folks, head over to the People's Movies because we do have a little interview with the director, George Jacques, I think it is.
Yeah.
You'll find it runs about 10 minutes long. Head over, check that out, and obviously check Emily's route as well. So there you have it, folks. That is Sunny Dancer and Tony. So thank you very much, Rosie, for last minute joining us here. Would you like to let the listeners know where they can find you online or anywhere else, be it in print form?
So on socials, it's all Rosie Reviews X, so Instagram, TikTok, Letterboxd. I have a website, rosiereviews.uk, and then I also write for the People's Movies as well.
That's your wrap on episode 66 of the Chronicle Film Podcast. Thank you very much for joining me for this episode. Big thanks to Ibrahim and Rosie for joining me for the reviews. The End of Oak Street, Tony, and Sunny Dancer, all out in UK and Irish cinemas. Tony and Sunny Dancer, you may have to search that out to find a screen actually just showing it because it is a more of a limited screening. As in the Chronicle and the People's Movies on social media, you can follow us at Instagram at the People's Movies. That's our sort of main sort of hub on social media. We've also got Facebook's at the People's Movie, X and Twitter at the People's Movie as well. YouTube is at the People's Movies.com. That's where you'll find episodes of the Chronicle and the Chronicle Take 2 over there as well. And you also find interviews, reviews, trailers, and other little things like that. Do follow us on them. As I said, you can also find the Chronicle on the popular sites to download your favourite podcasts, such as Apple, Podbean, Spotify, Amazon Music. We sometimes continue to chat with the Chronicle Take 2. Stay tuned over in social media and the People's Movies to find out future episodes. Another way you can find out is signing up for our email newsletter, which you'll find a link over at the People's Movie. We also get updated on future episodes and what we also do at the website with our news, reviews and trailers and previews. You can show your support for the Chronicle and the People's Movies with Buy Me a Coffee and PayPal. The links are over at the website. Please do share this podcast on social media with your friends and family and fellow film fans. And if you are listening on one of those podcast websites, do give us a rating. We are a very small podcast, and we use sharing helps algorithms for people to find us online as well, to find the podcast. So thank you very much to Ibrahim, Rosie, for joining me, and most of all, thank you very much for you. Until the next time, enjoy the movies.